Mm, it's chilly here.
Mm.
It's chilly here too. I'm trying to see what is the temp.
But it's sunny in Connecticut
Well, it's
a little bit.
28 degrees in Madison, and we're
Mhm.
waiting on a winter storm.
Oh,
Some more snow.
Well, we got snow last night, and mm, okay,
Did you get a
not
lot?
quite that. No, no. I think we're pretty much through. Um, Anna and John, as I said earlier, John McCrancy and Rebecca Cronin are leading oh, here comes Debbie, leading a workshop online this weekend. So it's my assumption that many of us are with them, and I'm asking us all to hold them as we practice today, just as I know they're holding us. Um, it's always, I think, a wonderful practice to be aware of those who are on retreat and hold them in our prayers while they're doing that. I know Matthew was on a 3 month once, and I happened to know about it, and it was a marvelous practice for me to be holding him doing that. I don't know that he was aware of it, but it deepened my own practice to know there was someone in long retreat or retreat at all. And I think it's something, it's another way we can hold one another and connect, and it's a worthwhile practice. So I think we're going to begin now. My name's Julie Forsythe, and I've been around for a while. I don't know that I need to say much to introduce myself. I don't think we tend to do that here. But I've been studying and practicing in this tradition for almost 30 years now. Time has rolled on. And what I wanted to share today, I would like primarily to work us to work together in the inclusive mode, but I wanted to share to go back to the question of motivation, which I think is, well, which for me is really important. When I find that I fall off the wagon, so to speak, how do I scrape myself back up and get back at it? What motivates me? And in this book, and I assume all of you are familiar with Shantideva, the third chapter, which is called Adopting the Spirit of Awakening, contains within it the Bodhisattva vow. And in some ways, this whole chapter is that vow. It's just a marvelous a recitation of the things that motivate and the stances we hope to take. Um, so I'd like to just read a few of those. My reason for doing this is that I believe that when we're thinking about the great sameness and the wish that everyone has to be happy, that this fundamental the wish underlies human motivation in general, that it's there. It may be very obscured, but if we're in contact with our own, we may be able to perceive it in others. So I'm just going to read a little piece. And I'm just choosing some selected paragraphs. May the virtue that I have acquired by doing all of this relieve every suffering of sentient beings. May I be the medicine, the physician for the sick. May I be their nurse until their illness never returns. With showers of food and drink, may I overcome the afflictions of hunger and thirst. May I become food and drink during times of famine. May I be an inexhaustible treasury for the destitute, with various forms of assistance. May I remain in their presence. May those who falsely accuse me, who harm me, who ridicule me, all partake of awakening. May I be a protector for those who are without protectors, a guide for travelers, a boat, a bridge, and a ship for those who wish to cross over. May I be a lamp for those who seek light, a bed for those who seek rest, and may I be a servant for all beings who desire a servant. May my life be fruitful. Upon gladly adopting the spirit of awakening in this way, an intelligent person should thus nurture their spirit in order to fulfill his wish. Now my life is fruitful. Human existence is well obtained. Today I have been born into the family of the Buddhas. Now I am a child of the Buddha. So let's just rest in that motivation for a moment. May I be. To that list I would add, may I be a zone of protection. And a beautiful quote from Tenzin Wangyal that John shared with us recently on a retreat in Barrie that Matthew and Tamara and I attended. Love is abundant in the open space of your being. And in this, John went on to say, the inclusive mode flows naturally from the receptive mode. And we ask how to be that healing environment for others beyond our strategies. And so today, as always, as we begin, just bring to mind either of field of care or a moment of compassionate presence to feelings. And we'll move into that practice of extending. But we're going to spend a fair bit of time first in either the compassionate field or the caring moment. And you know all this stuff, I don't need to rehearse it much, but just to say again, remember, if it begins to fade, bring it back. It can flow from one to the next. There are no, it's the great thing about Dzogchen, actually, and all of Dzogchen practice, that it's very reliant on your being awake and attuned to what's going on inwardly. The skills are important, but what's most important is the vibrance and the intimacy of experience, and staying in touch with that as your meditation or your whole life unfolds. So it's good, John says, to notice how we become a loving, healing environment, how the qualities from the depth of our being emerge, and from the depth resonate with those same qualities in other, and hold them in their being in that way. More and more inner layers show up. And the suffering of conditioning, which isn't hard to recognize and we can work with, can unravel, reveal other layers of suffering as well. And this I find very interesting, and I'm sure you do too, as you continue to practice. It's not just the obvious that's a condition of suffering in myself. I think in this last retreat for me, for example, suddenly the fact that when I meditate, I tend to set aside I don't include the extraordinarily mundane thought patterns of shopping or planning or, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I've always tended just to go like this with them, push them away, push them away. But somehow I heard John say what he's been saying probably for 30 years, which is include everything. And when I started including, allowing, holding, even those most mundane moments, some amazing, I opened in much deeper ways than I had in the past. And I realized how much I'd been missing by disregarding essentially the strangers in myself, the thoughts that pass by without my really noticing, like strangers, right? It's not that those thoughts are strange to me, but I treat them like strangers. And when I include them, there's a shift. And I'm not saying this to tell you what to do, but I'm sure you also, as you continue, notice new subtleties in this practice, in which we begin by resonating deeply with our own innermost being and radiate out from that point. And as we do that, more and more and more beings can be included. And it's just interesting to me. So, it's more than enough for me. Just allow the sound of the gong Allow yourself to relax even more deeply now. Straight back, downward glance. Come down from the thinking mind. Into the abdomen. And take a slow, deep breath. Inhaling, belly expanding. Exhaling, letting go. And for the next few moments, just breathing in a relaxed way, inhaling and exhaling, and releasing on the exhale. Before you inhale again. Now bring to mind a caring moment. A benefactor, a spiritual benefactor. Your field of care, fresh, present, intimate, right here with you now. And simply receive the warmth, the joyfulness, the tenderness, all the loving energies. And allow them to infuse your whole being, nothing excluded. Your whole body your mind, every aspect of your personality, of your being, infused, drenched with this loving care. Every part of you loved. Let any thoughts or feelings arise and be included in this healing environment of love, warmth, and acceptance. And let everything find its own time and its own place to settle. Everything included. Noticing the qualities that are arising. And allowing them to receive. And everything to settle in its own time and place. Just as it is. And when you're ready, think of someone dear to you that you would like to include in this meditation. Your practice now, so there may be one joined by others. But John suggests that it's good to start with one person so that we're clear. Letting that person be included in the field of loving energies, the warmth, the acceptance, and letting that field of energy permeate their whole being. Experience them now before you, joining you in that field of warmth, care, acceptance, love, whatever the qualities are. And communing with them, joining with them in the depth of their being, resonating with them in all their hidden layers of suffering. Uniting with them. Wishing them deepest well-being. In the same way your benefactors are wishing you deepest well-being. It's uniting this field of care and healing and warmth. A few others may have come to mind by now. And let them also be included if that's happening. The loving energies and qualities permeating their whole beings. Resonating. Resonating with their hidden layers of suffering. Which they themselves may not even comprehend. Caring for deeply, allowing that to flow through us, be a bridge, be a protector. And if you find that you're having trouble or your intention is being drawn away, just settle back into the field of care. Or the current feeling or emotion that's rising. Being present to that, that's what's taking you away. But you may find that naturally now your inclusive energy, if you will, is extending to strangers. And if you can bring one specifically to mind, someone from your daily life perhaps, someone at work, someone who delivers your Amazon packages, someone in the post office, or someone you had to speak with on the phone when you were having to get something done. There you were with your goal and your intention. Were they just a stick of wood or another human being? Just a vehicle to accomplish a task or another human being? Bring one of those to mind. And include them in this field of loving energy and care. Letting these loving qualities permeate their whole being, not superficially. All their hidden layers. You don't know much about their sufferings, their obvious sufferings. We don't know the details, but we know the layers of hidden suffering well. And again, you can extend this circle to more strangers. Allowing them all to be included. In this healing environment, zone of peace. And now go so far to, if you can, to include someone whom you really just distrust and dislike, who really annoys you, whose presence you would like to avoid. There may be somebody like that in your life. And bring them to mind in the same real way with the strangers and the loved ones. If you have trouble thinking of someone, just come into your most immediate experience and think of a moment in which you were really annoyed in the last few days, or angry or nettled or whatever. It doesn't have to be a big hate. And include that being as well. that field of care extending and including them, their whole being. Their whole being permeated by this loving care, deep into every layer of their suffering. And now just let this environment of loving warmth just lean back into deeply releasing all the frameworks, everything now. Just set sail. Cut all the kite strings. Just come to rest in the background of experience. Open, luminous. Complete and perfect. Nothing more to do. And even as we settle back in this way, that radiant love just flows out to all beings naturally. It can't be confined. Just lean back into that loving qualities. Release there. Now bring to mind your teachers and your teachers' teachers, those sources of guidance and inspiration. With thanks. And motivation to follow this way. We've been given a great gift. So thank you all for your practice. So is the tradition in this group, we have time now to share with one another. There are a number of things we might reflect on. Hi, Heidi, good to see you. Including qualities that we noticed, perhaps new qualities arose in this, things that we noticed in the inclusive mode that we hadn't experienced before, and not necessarily just this morning. I think it's anything that's arising in practice now, especially as you're experiencing it in the world, a moment when you notice that the practice was at work in your life, if you will, different than it would have been 10, 20 years ago, or however long it's been. Or just anything along the practice lines. Tamara, thank you.
I noticed something in particular today that when you said to include a person that for the first one to come to mind would have been the last one to come to mind maybe a year ago, which is my brother. He was always my most difficult person because he caused me a lot of empathic distress.
Right.
But I was on the phone with him yesterday, and he was doing his typical thing, which is to, oh, poor me, and misery, and it's always me, and it's the worst of things always befall me, and all that kind of stuff, and which would normally push my buttons, but I had just had a really rough day, and I could really empathize with him, and by
Wonderful.
sharing my own distress along the lines of his distress, he felt heard. He felt really seen and heard. And we connected on a deeper level. And I really do wish him free of suffering because he really is suffering an awful lot. And his layers of suffering are really obvious to me.
Yeah.
They're physical and mental and psychological and all the things. And so it was just really joyful to bring him to mind and to realize that I think possibly because I've been working with compassionate presence to my own feelings, that I was able to be sort of spontaneously compassionate to him in a way that made sense. Like it didn't occur to me while I was doing it that what I was doing was really being empathic. But it essentially was. And I've been in my practice, I've been